called to order. This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, on May 8, 2018, adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting was provided as required by law. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Councilwoman Kimberly Francois. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
O God, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, hear our supplications, and through thy infinite love and mercy, graciously grant us the strength and power for our thoughts and the benefit of all people at all times. God, we ask a special blessing for our school system and the young person who passed today. We had a tragedy. Let's all take a few moments of silence. Speak in our own way, our source of inspiration. Grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and our township. Amen.
Madam Master Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase,
Here.
Councilwoman Francois,
Here.
Councilman Galtieri,
Here.
Mayor Kramer,
Here.
Councilman Onijaka,
Here.
Councilman Prasad,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Robinson,
Here.
Councilman Vasanella,
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Item number 5 was commendations and proclamations. We were going to honor the girls' varsity basketball team, but in light of the tragedy that happened at the high school today, for those who don't know, a young man died during athletics, collapsed and died during athletics today at the high school. So in light of that, we'll postpone the honoring of our girls' basketball team. The next item is public discussion. Do I have a motion to open to?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion on that, all in favor of opening for public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. We are now open for public discussion.
Mayor, seeing no one coming forward from the public, a motion to close the public discussion portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of closing public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. Council committee reports, we will start. Council comments and reports, we'll start with Mr. Galtieri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real briefly, thank you to our public works crews who have been tirelessly working to clean up, continue picking up branches. I know they hit my area of the town over the past week or so, and I think they're close to wrapping up, but I'll defer to the manager for that. As far as committees, admin is scheduled for this Thursday, so I'll have a report at the next meeting for that. I did have the opportunity to attend the economic development meeting about a week ago. Excited to see some of the new opportunities coming into town, and looking forward to hopefully them actually going full project. I had sewage authority meeting last Tuesday. Just a reminder that the new bill pay system will be going into effect over the weekend, so hopefully it should be seamless, but please be patient. Just give us one day. It should be the 14th that it goes into effect. I do want to take one moment, though, to thank the outgoing chairman, Phil Haverkovich. He had served on the sewage authority for 15 years as a commissioner and then chairman. We will certainly miss him and his expertise and knowledge that he brought to the authority, not only in expertise for the sewage authority, but also of just the town in general. He lived here for many years, but I do want to wish him and his family the best of luck in their new home in South Carolina. Beyond that, Mr. Mayor, I am done.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Onijaka.
Hi, Mayor. Last Saturday, the Sierra Leonean community celebrated their 57th independence. In fact, everything went fine, and it was a very enjoyable day. And at the same time, I want to use this opportunity to thank our great mayor, Chanel Robinson, I myself, and we were all there and helped them to grace the occasion, most especially our police. They came and raised the flag. In fact, it was a very colorful occasion in Franklin. And this is the first time Sierra Leonean flag or West African flag was raised in Franklin, which shows diversity. And it was good. And in the evening, they had a party too. I attended the party and I spoke on behalf of our mayor and the council. I thank them for their massive support and also improving our diversity we have in Franklin. So that's what I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
On a more cheerful note, on May 2nd, the Deputy Mayor, Chanel Robinson, and I, we went to the Women to Girls Club for a mentoring program. And also, as part of the Girls Club, the Franklin Youth Initiative Boys Club was there. And PSE&G was there. There was a nurse there. Some of the students couldn't believe that Ashley, who is a very successful fashion entrepreneur, was so successful, and she had actually grew up in the Franklin Township school system. So I think it was a very, very pleasant day. There were about 25 young ladies there, and some of the feedback we got back from the Janice Reagan, who was their teacher, she said that we had such an impact on the girls that we probably will see some budding politicians come out of that. And she also mentioned that everybody wanted to go to Harvard. It was kind of funny because I was telling the young ladies that I went to Harvard and they couldn't believe it. And there was probably about 6 or 7 of them that said, "Oh, I want to go to Harvard, and tell me how you get in Harvard. What do I need to do to go to Harvard?" So it appears that we really had an impact on them, and I really enjoyed the experience. And I look forward to additional mentoring experiences at the schools with our young people. And that's all. The only other thing I want to say is that you never know what you say to a child and how that they hold it with them and how it impacts them. So that was my takeaway, and it was after getting a lot of that feedback, I was very happy that I took time off of work to be over there to be with those young ladies and the young men. I also showed them slides of the Franklin Youth Center and got a lot of feedback and a lot of enthusiasm from them about the youth center. They got so many comments. They wanted to know when we were going to break ground. They wanted to know when we were going to finish the youth center. They wanted to know, was it going to be free? How could they get in there? What are going to be the hours? What kind of activities? They gave me more feedback. There's a lot of enthusiasm about the Franklin Youth Center. So it was a very, very pleasant day, and I know the Deputy Mayor should probably have some comments as well. But we enjoyed ourselves. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Jim Vest.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome back, Councilman Prasad there. He was out of town for a little bit. Glad to see him back, and we look forward to working on the committees we work on together. It was mentioned economic development, Councilman Will mentioned. I don't have the minutes in front of me. I think Councilman Chase did a quick rundown No, it was after last meeting, so I don't have any minutes in front of me, but we were updated on a lot of projects that are in the pipeline. And hopefully soon, from what I understand, the ground will be broken. No promises when, but hopefully in the near future on the property, on the, I guess you'd call it the corner of 287 and Easton Avenue there, what was formerly known as the old Travel Lodge, Quality and Econo Lodge property. Hopefully that development will start moving quickly. That's the first thing a lot of people see when they get off of the highway and enter Franklin, whether you're a visitor or a resident. And I think we've gotten used to it just being, unfortunately, abandoned recent couple years, and look forward to that project moving forward quickly. Potholes, we had a heck of a winter. If you see something, there's the portal or the on our website to report it. If for some reason you can't get to that, or it's not working, or you don't get a response, you're welcome to contact any council person, your ward council person, or anyone you know. But we are catching up, as was mentioned. The branches are almost done. The manager will fill us in. But now we can get to work on potholes and some park maintenance issues. Also, same thing, be patient. But if you see something, we're always happy to get your input or suggestion, because although it may be scheduled to be repaired or maintained, things do fall through the cracks. So please let us know. We want to beautify this town again after the heck of a winter we had in spring. That being said, I do want to mention Phil, or I won't try to pronounce his last name, who's a constituent of mine and has worked with you on the sewer commission. I know you mentioned it, but whenever there was an issue in the sewage commission, and it's not like there's been a lot of issues, but he's been on 15 years, like you say, and from the day I got on council, I know people would often say, if there was a debate or didn't know which way things were trending, what does Phil have to say? He was always the guy who was seen as a very objective, and although everybody brings their skills, he has a background in a lot of the engineering and utility aspects that a sewer commission and commissioner is vital through their efforts. So he came well-versed, well-committed, and him and his family, besides the, and that's volunteer service, they don't get paid for, besides the 15 years, him and his family have always been real assets to this town. So I know it was mentioned, but I want to repeat, I wish them well and thank them for their service and residency in Franklin. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Vasanella. Councilman Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Human Relations Commission, I was absent, and I believe our deputy mayor attended the session where the middle school principal came and spoke, or had a family emergency. Admin, as Councilman Galtieri said, our next meeting is on Thursday, and I was absent for the land use. I guess Councilman Chase would be filling us in, or Councilman Wright on that. Community Foundation, we have not met. Maybe we need to have a meeting and schedule one. As you know, I was traveling, and I did go to Sri Lanka and visited Marissa, which is a beautiful place, and even went whale watching. But there is no town hall there. I kept looking for the town hall and trying to talk to the town administration. And apparently the people who recommended Marissa to us were misinformed and didn't realize that they're actually, the town is run by the district or county, which is called Gaul. And Gaul happens to be a former Dutch fort, and the only Dutch fort outside of Holland that still exists. So they actually subsidize it, and
Ghana.
Guyana?
In Ghana, there's at least one.
Okay. Well, so you know, they have their heritage and with the Dutch, just like we do, and I think we'll need to amend our sister city request to the Sri Lankan government to say that we would rather establish that with Gaul, and that would be the change. We did have the Northeast extension, supply extension draft environmental impact statement with the Federal Regulatory Commission on the 4th, and we had about 200 people that attended, and it was very well attended, and people got to submit their comments to FERC in writing as well verbally. And on the 14th is the deadline. If you are an intervener, you can still submit comments on the draft environmental impact statement as an intervener. So please do so. The more they hear from us, the better it is. the numbers do count. On the 1st of May, I attended the UN Vesak Day, where about 120 countries presented how they celebrate Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and his passing on the first full moon of May. On another note, we've been working on these memorial statues, and they are at a critical stage now where the plaster molds are being cast, and I may need to go and inspect those molds once we know that they are cast, because from that, the bronze statues are made. So it's critical to make sure the quality of the molds is there. And we have donors, so everything is being donated by different people. So that's just the update on where we are with the memorial statues that we're working on. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Prasad. Councilman Chase.
We didn't have a land use meeting at the end of last month, so there's nothing to report there. I'm happy to say that the pickup of branches from the northeasters reached Old Georgetown Road late this afternoon. So we have so many to be picked up that an hour later I could still see them above my house, but it is progressing. Like everyone, I was shocked to hear actually on Channel 2 CBS Evening News of the death of the young man at Franklin High School. They said he was playing Frisbee. So, strange. As Councilman Prasad said, we had on May 2nd, there was actually the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission was here taking comments, oral and written, on the compressor station 206 proposal. We had a very substantial and I think successful press conference outside. Not only our mayor, but the mayor of Princeton and the mayor of Montgomery spoke. At the moment, there is no mayor of South Brunswick. They've had 2 die in the last year. But I think that's coincidence, not a hazardous occupation. But there were a number of other speakers, including Jeff Tittle of the New Jersey Sierra Club. But I don't have anything else to report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Chase. Councilman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the redevelopment issue that I was going to bring before you, basically it was housekeeping. Nothing to report there. We had an update by Leewood, and they're the ones that are building the townhouses off of 27. And RPM, which is our main redeveloper, there was nothing to report there. But our next meeting, we should have an update on where they are as far as redevelopment is concerned and what comes up next. As Councilman Chase said, no meeting this month for land use, and that gave us the time off there, and we're happy about that. But of main concern to me was the last Hamilton Street Business District meeting. And one of the questions that I asked, and I talked to our executive director, Vince Dominic, was the parking issue. And one of the questions that were raised was, and I'll read it to you, there was discussion regarding the possibility of future parking issues on Hamilton Street. And our executive director, Mr. Dominic, explained that both the Hamilton Board and the Planning Board had discussed the issue and would monitor in the future. And again, Councilman Vassanella and I are both, we both share Hamilton Street. And that's one of the issues that are constantly brought forward is house the parking issue? How are you going to have shops and parking spaces for those shops? So not only will the planning board monitor it, but Councilman Vasanella and I will definitely monitor it, because when they come and ask for, well, why the parking get there in the first place, Councilman Vasanella's got to have an answer, and so do I. So that's something that we'll move forward on and see how that goes. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Wright. Deputy? Yes.
Just one other note, and that is that Thursday we had the National Day of Prayer, and we did pray for all the township officials, including the mayor and the clerk. So just wanted to point that out. We need all the prayers we could get.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To piggyback off what Councilwoman Francois said, we did meet with the young ladies and the young men for the mentoring program. This is my third year participating, and every year there's a more and more rambunctious group. And I must say that they had some very good questions and some insight that you wouldn't expect at their age, but I've said before, sometimes we can take the plays from their playbook and take the lead from our youth. And they were very excited and interested in what those of us who were there as mentors had to offer, and to explain to them what we do in our different professions. And so I was happy to be asked to participate in that once again. I've worked at one of the Habitat for Humanity homes this weekend. I had some frosted tips that most people pay for, but it was a good effort in helping them prepare their home. This is about the fourth home I think that I've been involved in here in Franklin Township, and it just gives me joy and pleasure to be able to help others realize their dreams. And it's more than just a house, it's a home for them. And so Saturday was Women Build Day for Habitat for Humanity. So I was excited to get my hands in there and dirty. I was able to use my military flight line boots with the steel toe, because I wasn't sure what I was going to be working on that day, but 20 some odd years later, they still come in handy. So I'm proud of that. As well as we had the Hamilton Street meeting on, was it Monday night? What's today? Tuesday? Yesterday. Okay, so I'm losing on track of time. So happy to report that cameras will be going up soon as part of public safety. No ETA, but we are moving forward with that. As well as there's been an uptake in interest of the activities that have been happening on Hamilton Street and in our township. And so it's good news. We're on the up and up, that business is booming and people actually are taking an interest in what we are doing and what's happening, especially on Hamilton Street. On another note, I had no other meetings. I will have Housing Authority on tomorrow. However, I do have a question. I've been seeing some of the big belly trash cans going up around town. You can answer now, you can answer at your report. So I just want to know, is that something going throughout the town, or there slated areas?
So it was a capital project in your last capital budget, and this capital budget, they've been purchased primarily for the parks, and they've been going up in the parks, but there were two, I believe, purchased for Hamilton Street.
Mm-hmm. So the premise of having those, because I see the LED lights, it's green when they're not full and there's red when they're full. Is that monitoring, or that's just to let the person know?
They're remotely monitored, because they have a cellular connection that then sends an email to the Public Works garage saying that they're ready to be emptied.
Okay, so we're working more efficiently and
Absolutely.
proficiently. So glad to hear. That's all that I have, Ms. Yeah, that's all that I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First, I'd like to acknowledge that our school board president is. My one brief announcement is that I will now be participating in the New Jersey Conference of Mayors Legislative Committee, which reviews legislation prior to Assembly and Senate voting on it, so that they at least hear a mayor's opinion. I am once again going to postpone my State of the Township address. It's all finished and it's sitting on my desk, but I just didn't have the heart, given the tragedy that happened today, to talk about how wonderful our town is. We have done many great things, but I just don't see today as the proper day to do it. So that ends my comments, and we shall now go on to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An update on the debris pickup. I spoke with Carl Houck, our Public Works Manager, this morning. He, and much to kind of echo what Councilman Chase said, the bulk of the activity right now is in the southern end of town. It should have been, they should probably still be out there right now. It's still daylight. They had anticipated all but a small portion of Griggstown being completed today, leaving only Hamilton Street, Amwell Road, between Millstone Borough and Franklin Boulevard, Easton Avenue for its entire length, a very small section of South Middlebush Road here in the village where it's a little bit more narrow and there's more houses, and Cedar Grove Lane, again, another road that we've made the determination the safest way to do that is with a permanent, well, I should say permanent, with a long-term work zone as opposed to a temporary work zone, like we've done on all of the other streets as we just move from house to house. And we need to, for traffic safety purposes and for the safety of our employees, we need to set it up a little bit differently given the high speeds on those roads and the fact that there's some significant piles of debris on those roads as well. So our anticipation right now is to finish up the Griggstown section tomorrow, and then, believe it or not, we have some grass to cut. So I will tell you that they will probably not be out picking up branches for the remainder of this week because we have some parks that need to have grass cut, and we have some athletic fields that have to be done. So we're going to shift gears for a couple days and get caught up with the grass cutting, and then come back and establish our work zones on those major roads next week and get the remainder of the debris next week. So I think that, you know, we were off by a couple days. I think I estimated that we would be done with the bulk of this on May 7th. It's May 8th now, right? And looks like we probably, I missed it by about 2 or 3 days maybe. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Manager, I was interrupted, and so maybe I didn't hear it, but did you mention Elizabeth Avenue?
No, I did not mention Elizabeth Avenue.
Piled high on Elizabeth Avenue.
Today?
Yeah.
Well, then I'll lump that one in. That one wasn't highlighted on my little map here, but I certainly won't argue with you, and I see it on my stretch of Elizabeth Avenue in and out. It was there this morning, but I know that they were anticipating trying to get to as much as they could.
Missed it on the way home.
And they may not have gotten it. You may have seen it if you came home that way. So I'll tell you when I go home tonight, and whether it's still there or not, as I drive down Elizabeth Avenue. But the main roads are the ones that they were trying to keep for last so that they could establish work zones on each of them to get it done safely. But the residential properties should all be done by tomorrow.
They haven't finished Old Georgetown Road
They may
yet.
still be
They
out
went
there.
home. No,
Yes or no?
they left that stretch a few houses up from me.
Okay, so they're almost done, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I know that. So the crews that went out to do Old Georgetown and Coppermine were the big grappler front end loader because there were some bigger piles. The narrowness of the road slows it down a little, and I can't speak for everywhere, but I can tell you that I've gotten a number of comments and compliments from our residents We're not just picking them up and throwing them in the truck. We're raking up your yard when you're done, and the crew is cleaning it every yard, yard after yard. And there have been a number of compliments as well about the state that they leave the properties once it's done. So I kind of give them a little pat on the back. It's taken a little bit longer to take that little extra step, but I think in the end it's making most people happy. And I'm sure that while it may not have saved us money, it has saved many, many, many homeowners money in the disposal of these tree branches from their yards. So I think all in all, it was a pretty successful project. So
We thank you.
good, I'm glad.
Mayor?
They have done an excellent job.
So the only other thing I have to report, Mr. Mayor, one other thing, this Saturday at 7 p.m. at Franklin High School, the Franklin Township Cultural Arts Council is sponsoring a concert to support all of the proceeds of the concert to go to support the costs associated with the gazebo that is being built with donated funds out here in the municipal complex next to the library. If you haven't noticed, the foundation and footing and foundations were done over the last couple days, and they're anticipating construction of the actual gazebo very soon. The concert is Motor City Review. It's an 11-piece band, primarily 50s and 60s kind of doo-wop kind of concert at Franklin High School this Saturday. There's a $20 donation to get in, and anyone who's interested in enjoying themselves at a concert, I would strongly urge you to go. And like I said, all of the proceeds going to the East Millstone Historic Society as a partner in this project, and to be used solely for the construction of the gazebo. That will be for everyone to enjoy in the future. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Vasanella, you had something?
Yes, a quick question, Mayor. I'm glad that we're coming to a conclusion with the pickup. So my question is this: I'm wondering when we get to Easton Avenue, and I don't want to delay it, but whenever it is you'll be scheduling that, you explained it how it was a process. You want to get out there because of the safety. You have a certain way to do it. I'm wondering when we do that side of the road. Well, I'm sure we're doing both sides, but the side that seems to have the most is the one with the bike path. That's the one that PSE&G, and it seems the county, it seems nobody necessarily maintains some of the branches. I'm wondering, I know the ones on people's property, when the tree is completely on someone's property, we don't get involved, but I think we own about 10 feet back. Would it be possible with the new equipment that we've invested in recently, when we do go out to pick up the loose stuff, to also try and cut down anything that, that's hanging like out into the roadway?
I think you're
we
talking
can do a little bit of a
primarily the
cleanup.
landing lane area.
Well, literally
because
it goes in clumps, but starting at the Imperial, and I'm not saying them, but, starting down that end, really, till you get to Landon Lane, there's a few clusters down by the, towards the 287, and then the cluster down towards Landon Lane. But just in general, as we're doing it, can we do a little bit?
I won't say no. I mean, I haven't done a survey to see where the trees and who the trees belong to, but I also know that there's no branches for us to pick up down that end of Easton Avenue, so we won't be closing down lanes to do that.
No, but the end down where you have stuff that hangs out into the thing and over the roadway, where whether it falls or not, who knows? But it's of no value. When it's hanging over the roadway.
Listen, I understand. All I'm saying is it'll have to be evaluated, and remember that it's not our road. It's a county road, so we don't do maintenance on a county road. The county does, and so I would probably say that unless it's constituting an immediate hazard, it probably won't. But we'll look. I mean,
We'll
I'll
look,
talk to the Public Works
and then after we're done, I guess, then we can request that whatever part is left that we think the county should get on after we've done what we could do.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the next item would be council discussion item. We have none. I'm going to take the chair's prerogative, given what happened today. We have in our attendance the president of the Board of Education, who has signaled to me she'd like to say something, and please, our manager, maybe you can make sure the mic is on.
I didn't hear you, what?
The mic on? Yeah,
Is it?
okay, good.
Nancy LaCourte, 6 Blackwells Mills, and the president of Franklin Township Board of Education. I don't know if you did this because I got here late, but if you could just bow your heads for a moment of silence for the family and the student that died today. Thank you. Today was an awful day. No parent should ever have to lose their child. So there really aren't a lot of words that I can say other than it was a really traumatic day for this. Obviously, for the family, it was the worst day they can ever go through, and for the students and for the staff and administration that was there and with the in the school. They have grief counselors available. There's grief counselors available for the middle school students because the student was in 9th grade. And if anybody wants to go and get help, all they need to do is go and talk to the principal, and that could be arranged for them. Or staff can go talk to the principal or go talk to the grief counselors. And I'd like to thank Dr. Ravalli and his staff for how they handled everything, especially the high school principal, Frank Schmiel, and the teachers that were on the field with the student. And my heart breaks for them because that's a horrible thing to go through as well. And I mean, the board is just really devastated and really sorry. So all you could do is keep the family in your hearts and prayers, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Ms. LaCourte,
Deputy Mayor.
Mrs. LaCourte. I just want to also commend you and the staff and the administration and the Board of Ed, how they handled it. I actually did not want to interrupt the workflow in handling the emergency. So I did, believe it or not, reach out to our chief of police because I am the lead for crisis response. And I was getting phone calls and texts from parents and people in the community. And believe it or not, our chief is out of town, but he did respond to me, and then he directed me to speak with the captain. So again, hats off to the way that the Board of Ed and how administration handled the situation, and our hearts do go out to the families.
Thank you. The information that is on the district's website or that's being communicated to the press is the information. So following on social media, other than to say that you're sorry, the correct information has been distributed, and if people could just respect the family and those affected by it and just keep them in your hearts and prayers. But thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. So, on to business. Seems out of place, but move on with business. Approval of the minutes. I present the following minutes for approval by the Township Council. The Township Council work session, regular meeting, February 27, 2018, 7 p.m., and the work session for April 24, 2018, at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion on the minutes?
Motion to pass.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any corrections? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes for the 27th, abstain for the 24th.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes to the 27th and abstain on the 24th.
Deputy Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Abstain on the 27th, yes on April 24th.
Councilman Wright.
On item number 11, approval of the warrants. Warrants in the amount of $9,567,826.84 on May 8th, 2018 are presented to the Township Council for payment.
I move that the warrants as read be paid.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any question on the warrants? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
So we have no ordinances either on second or first reading. We are on to number 14 on our agenda. the consent agenda resolutions. The items A through K, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a s- And we have a second. Any discussion? Anyone like to discuss an item, pull an item, question an item? Mr. Chase?
I just wanted to note item G, that we're finally awarding the contract for fixing the Little Rocky Hill water main, which I think we've been working on since about 2011.
I would say that you've probably actually been working
Earlier.
on it since about 2003, in earnest, since 2011, but it's been an issue since probably
It
2003.
certainly has been an issue considerably longer,
So, Mr. Manager, do you have a timeline of any kind yet, or no?
So my hope with this is that we award this contract, and within 2 weeks, we have a pre-construction meeting with the company. We begin the staging process probably 2 weeks after that, give or take. The first part of this project is to install the bypass in the first section of the pipe that will be worked on. Obviously, we have to shut down certain things, then bypass the main so that we can work inside the main. I would hope that once actual work on the pipe begins, that I'd like to have it done in 90 days. I think we're shooting for that 90-day work period once all of the preliminary work is done. So I'd like to see that if we can, we have the water main project done once by the end of the summer.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Any other, Mr. Wright had his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the Township Manager. Resolution 18177, 18178. Resolution of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, authorizing the execution of the Emergency Management Agency Assistance Grant.
I don't know.
So I do. It is just telling us to go forward with
Yeah.
applying for a grant.
It's telling us to go forward with applying for the EMA grant. Is the grant that we receive annually from the Federal Emergency Management Administration, because Franklin Township is a municipality that meets all of the qualifications of the federal government as far as our emergency management office is concerned. It primarily deals with, there's the size of the town and the fact that all of our federally mandated requirements are met as far as our emergency operating plan, the staffing of our emergency management office. And this is probably a good time for me to let all of you know that our emergency management director, Gary Howarth, who was our longtime emergency management coordinator, has retired. He was also a government employee for another municipality, and he has since retired. And the emergency management director is one of my appointments. I don't get many of them. Shade tree and emergency management. Those are my two big things. And I have since appointed John House, our fire prevention director, as our emergency management coordinator here in Franklin Township. One of the requirements is that obviously they have to have a background in emergency management, which clearly John does. He's a former fire chief of the Somerset Fire and Rescue Company. But also you need to be a resident of the town. We will continue to have our professional staff in the police department assisting as deputies. There are two now, Brian Farrar, Sergeant Farrar, and Lieutenant Rizzo are both deputy directors, and John will be the director.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Hearing no other questions, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Item number 15, resolutions to be voted on separately. Resolution 18179, award bid professional services agreements, professional engineering services, various firms, not to exceed $300,000 per firm on May 1st, 2018 through April 30th, 2019, is hereby presented to the Township Council for consideration. Do we have a motion on this?
Motion for passage.
Second.
Moved in second, and any discussion, any questions? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Old business boards, commissions, and committees, do we have any nominations?
I see we have an application, or someone submitted a form, so, but I'm not sure what vacancies we have based on what they checked off.
They're interested in zoning, but I think they have to be screened.
I wanted to
They're
ask,
interested in a number of things.
Yeah, quite a few things.
Councilman Galtieri, was he looking for somebody with legal experience for the sewage
Sewage authority?
authority?
At this point, given that the vacancy just happened, I'd like to confer with the other commissioners, and then do the proper, look at any applicants, including this one, for the position.
And just to follow up that, I spoke to Mr. Mangione, and his first choice was the zoning board, which there is just a recent vacancy. I don't know if it's official yet, or I know Mr. Betterbed is moving soon. Anyway, so.
So hearing that there are no nominations.
There's no nomination for tonight, but for future reference,
I think we can discuss this offline. I have a nomination for Alexandra Schmidt to be renominated to the Advisory Board of Health as a student member. To be reappointed. She has served in that position admirably, if I can pronounce the word.
Is she a student or an adult now? I totally support putting her on there.
She is an adult, and she is a senior at Rutgers, and I think at Rutgers. And
Yes.
if I can break the news to the world, she is about to be a medical student at Rutgers, so she will be a student for another 4 miserable years.
You mean it wasn't fun when you went to medical school?
Are there any other nominations for the position?
I don't know.
Did
She's
you meet?
Over 18.
Okay.
So we can do this by acclamation. All in favor of
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt for this position, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Congratulations, Ms. Schmidt. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we are now on to the executive session. Resolution 18-180, authorize executive session contract negotiations, AFSCME 2426, senior managers and supervisors, and a litigation update. Those are two separate items. No other actions will be taken by Township Council at the conclusion of the executive session. Do I have a motion on the?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Perhaps you should.
There won't be any action taken?
No, there won't be. We'll come back with the contract ratification
Very good.
if so needed.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Any discussion on it? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
So this will conclude the taped portion of our meeting. We're going to go into executive session, come out. There'll be nothing else after that except to adjourn the meeting. So this concludes the meeting. Take care of yourself, Franklin. It's important.